President Zelensky has announced one of the largest prisoner exchanges since the full-scale war began with Russia nearly 3 years ago. 189 Ukrainian troops are being returned home from the captivity, and 150 Russian soldiers are being returned in the deal which was brokered by the United Arab Emirates.
And from number 10 to the silver screen, the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson bags an unlikely cameo in a Ukrainian Christmas film. Now, have you ever celebrated New Year's Eve on a train? Well, that's the festive backdrop for a new film called The December the 31st Express, which has been shot despite the ongoing war in Ukraine.
Це мав би бути звичайний рейс звичайного потягу.
And it's billed as a touching comedy about love, friendship and miracles that only happen at New Year. The story unfolds on board an iconic Ukrzaliznytsia train bound for Lviv and carrying an unlikely group of passengers who find themselves stuck in the middle of nowhere. And the cast includes a guest cameo from...
Добрий день, everybody.
The former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Ukraine says one of its sea drones has shot down a Russian helicopter off the coast of the occupied Crimea. Officials say it's a world first. This video, released by Ukrainian intelligence and which we've not been able to independently verify, appears to show an explosion mid-air and a large splash into the sea. In his New Year address, President Putin has told Russians that the country will move forward with confidence in 2025 and that he's proud of his achievements. Vladimir Putin, who's been in charge for 25 years, paid tribute to the soldiers fighting in the war in Ukraine, calling them true heroes. But as Steve Rosenberg reports, many people inside Russia are struggling economically and want to see an end to the conflict.
This festive season, Moscow feels very surreal. It's happy holidays and joy to the world from a country that is waging war on its neighbour. When I ask Russians what they're hoping for most from the new year, everyone replies, for the war in Ukraine to be over. Peace is what I want, she says. For the war to end and for us to win it. This man wants talks, a negotiated settlement. Weapons, he says, won't solve anything. The festive lights are bright, but patriotic fervour, that's fading.
Well, this is Gorky Park. One difference I've noticed from a couple of years back. In December 2022, along with the traditional tree, there were giant letter Zs, the symbol of the so-called special military operation. This year, no Zs, no slogans, it's all very traditional. I think that after 3 years of war, Russians don't want to be reminded of this war. And I think the authorities sense that, which is why this new year it's more snowmen than soldiers. But you cannot simply tinsel over a war or its consequences.
I want the military operation to be over, she says, so that we can forget all about it. Everyone becomes friends again and no one dies. My nerves are on edge. For Russians, there are economic consequences too of this war.
So even after 3 years of sanctions, as you can see, there's still a lot of food on the shelves. But it's the prices that are the problem. Inflation's a problem. So, for example, this year in Russia, the price of potatoes has gone up by 88%, the price of butter by 35%. And there, in fact, have been lots of reports of people stealing butter from shops, which is probably why in this supermarket they're selling some butter in special security anti-theft boxes.
Few here believe they can change what is happening. The Russian people are patient, Alexander says. They stay silent. Some trust their government, but there is also fear and resignation here, ahead of the new year. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.